Hey, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I can't be the only one that's sick of the word corona virus, and I'm sure that most everybody is just tired of seeing about it and reading about it and hearing about it and watching about it, and we're all completely saturated in the idea before we even get a sniff of it. And here we are, thousands die every year of the flu, and this thing is coming along. Now the difference is that this is going to affect so many people in so many different ways. I was out a couple of days ago, and I went to the supermarket, and a couple of days ago in Taliban there was no difference. There was no difference in the way that everybody was behaving. I didn't see tons of people who were all wearing masks. I hardly saw that. Well, admittedly, probably that's because you can't buy a mask, not without paying an incredibly inflated price. But anyway, that aside, I didn't see empty shelves. Now, I've had people sending me photographs now of empty shelves in the supermarkets, and so evidently people are now stocking up, and the usual thing when a crisis hits of stocking up is to be overstocking, so that you're set when the crisis ends. You're set for the rest of the year in order to eat until you're sick of canned food, as much as you're sick of hearing the words coronavirus. Now here's the thing, it's going to affect us in so many different ways if we don't stop harping on it. And of course it's not easy to stop harping on it because it comes up to us every day. I get so many articles. There's a very popular one about this person who is the friend of everybody and their brother, the one that has been working in Wuhan and knows exactly what the illness, the virus is all about, and knows exactly how to cure it, and that one's being sent round to everybody, and you're being urged to send it on to other people. And the effect is that we all get that so stuck in our mind about it. When you're walking down the street, you're wondering whether a person should come more than a foot or 2 feet away from you before you start thinking, I better go back home and check if I've got a fever. So there's a couple of things to think about while all of this is going on, while we're being deluged with all of this information about this illness, which no doubt, if you catch it, I'm sure that you will certainly not be very pleased about it, and maybe terminally displeased about it. As far as Bohol goes, we are about to be on community quarantine. I think that's the correct phrase for it, so that nobody is coming in, nobody new is coming in to Bohol. I think you're allowed to leave, and goodbye and thanks and good riddance, but you're not allowed to come in. So that is evident. Now the other thing is that right off the coast, by the port of Ubay, there is a boat there that is causing concern, because it's come, I believe, from Hong Kong, and they're seeking permission to dock, and they're not being given permission to dock, and it's causing quite a stir. And in the absence of knowing exactly what to do, they're saying you have to stay there. So they're docked out some way into the water outside Ubay. Haven't heard exactly what's happening about that, but the community quarantine is a definite. It's a definite, and we're being urged not to go out, not to do this, not to do that. And you know what's going to happen is by exercising the not going anywhere, two things. You get people stocking up, and here I think that they're being penalised for that if they're seen to be stocking up excessively. They're depriving other people who are trying to act just a tad over normal in order to accommodate the possibility of the crisis worsening and supplies getting short. Supplies in the supermarkets are not excessive at any given time. They'll be the normal amount that they sell plus enough to tide them over so that they can order again, but not enough to be able to say double the demand. It's not going to be able to be done, and that's just double the demand. So if someone was going out and spending 1,000 pesos on groceries, they'd be going out and spending 2,000. That would not be that excessive. But if everybody did it, it doesn't take any great intelligence to be able to work that out. So what are we going to have to do? Well, if you have been helping someone to get through the week, we have let me say, how many families are we helping at the moment, Beth?
8.
8. So we have eight families that we are at least making sure that they get a basic a basic grocery list done. And in order to do that, we take that supply to a sari store, which has become able to handle that amount of groceries. And what we do is we take a list in, and we have, depending on the size of the family, we have an amount that we can spend, and we'll put a list there saying for family one might be for, say, 1,000 pesos, and family 2 might be bigger, so it might be for 1,500 pesos. We're not talking about banquets. We're talking about basic stuff like coffee and rice and so on, and a few pieces of canned food and so on. But we've got people like our blind man grandfather that we adopted after the lady that had adopted him. We haven't heard from her for a long time. We believe that she got sick, and she stopped supporting the blind grandfather. So we couldn't see him go without, and we have been supporting him ever since, which is certainly almost a year. So we've got that, and a few others, like the old lady that was close on 80, and she's still out there doing people's yard work for a very low amount of money, and we just make sure that they're okay. Now, that's okay when everything is okay, but when something like this happens and you're being told not to go out, and you're being told not to go out, but not to buy in too much of your groceries over and above what you normally do, it's very conflicting advice, isn't it? Soon, I think on Cebu, I think isn't it the schools on Cebu, Beth?
Yeah, it was closed.
They're now closed.
Yeah.
We expect that that's going to happen very soon. As I say, that's only my opinion, but we expect that Bohol will follow very soon. We're only an hour away from Bohol, so if we've already we've already closed the ports for people arriving, new arrivals, or about to. I think there's a couple of days notice for doing this, so that people who are working on or visiting on Cebu can get back here if this is where they live. So a few days notice is important so that they can do that. And of course my advice would be don't leave it till the last day, because with the weather conditions that are likely, as they are so changeable here, it's possible that you could leave yourself to the last day and then find that you can't travel because the ferries have been cancelled for that day. And so what would you do about the next day? Well, you would be you'd be working on a prayer, wouldn't you then? So just my hope is that people will continue to support by whatever means the people that they have been supporting. That's not us, because in all of our videos we are making it quite clear that we are not soliciting for funds, okay? So there's no intent, implied or otherwise, to ask, which is what the word solicit means, to ask for funds. We are handling our own stuff. But there will be people out there who are helping, and people like the old lady, you know, her neighbours will surely step in and make sure that she's okay. But otherwise, you've got the other people, like people who have a sari-sari store, even people who run a basic restaurant. There's Candelarias that supply food at a painfully cheap price. You can go and get a meal. Even at Alturas, you can go and get a meal for not very much money, and those places will be hurting. Not so much Alturas, obviously, because it's a huge company, practically owns Taliban, I think, and they're not going to hurt. But maybe they might be laying off some of their workers. So what will they do? They'll go in and stay home as they're advised, and work how? So it's not about that. The best thing to do is to continue to work normally, to go in normally, to keep services available normally, and hope that people will realize that life is still going on. Because if they don't, more people will go bankrupt in this crisis than will lose their lives. So all of the people that, in fact, if you're just a person who is a customer for most people in most services, then those people who are at the present meeting your needs may not be there when all of this is over, because they won't be able to hold on. And so you've got to try to think in terms of supporting those who will need to be supported. So if you normally go and buy product at a particular place every week, if you go and buy dog food at the local vet, or however it is that you are being a part of the infrastructure in wherever you're living, you've got to keep doing that so that people will not go under, so that everything will be there when you come back. I remember when I went out to California first, I got there 1992, and a little while after that there were riots because of a black man who was chased by the police and beaten nearly to an inch of his life, and when there was a court case and it didn't go quite the way that the community felt that it should, there was this huge riot, and businesses were looted and broken and smashed and burned cars were turned over, of course, and burned. And the community then had to come back to a community where the infrastructure was now in crisis as a result of the behaviour. So what we don't want is for that to happen here. We want, in our case, we want the Taliban that is there right now to still be there. That the businesses that we go to and patronise will still be there. And so that's very important. So what we're going to try to do on our channel here for our very small part is to continue to try to support the people that we have been supporting, and that support comes in various ways, and we hope that we will be able to continue in spite of the saturation of those two words, coronavirus, to still be making and posting entertaining or educational, informative videos, and that is our intention. That's our goal. We hope that everybody will be out there and will be able to stay safe and healthy. We wish everybody well, and we'll all just give our prayers for what we can do what we can with what we have. Bye for now. This is a foreigner in the Philippines.